Good morning. I am Ronaldo McKenzie. Welcome to another episode of the Neoliberal Round podcast. Today, what is happening in Ukraine? Zelenskyy pleads to the US. Russian soldiers are fed up. And Biden responds to Zelenskyy. Again, today, President Zelenskyy will be speaking live to the US Congress, and we will carry that for you live. And more. We will also share with you what Russian soldiers are saying about their country's invasion. In fact, what Russian soldiers on the ground are saying about their country's invasion of Ukraine. And later on, Biden responds to President Zelenskyy. We are going to carry that. We're going to be carrying all of this for you. We're going to be carrying Zelensky's message live as he speaks. And after that, we will share with you what Russian soldiers are feeling. And of course, they are demoralized and they are fed up. And we will share what you're saying. And it is riddled with expletives. And of course, Biden responds to Zelenskyy. Welcome again to the Neoliberal Round broadcast. And of course, we will make some comments. We will have comments about all of these. So not only listen to the messages at the beginning of the episode, but also listen to what I have to say, some takeaways and some very important and poignant points from the discussions that from the messages that is coming from President Zelenskyy, the Russians, and later on we want to hear what Biden have to say. So stay tuned and continue to listen to us as we have a great program lined up for you today. Good morning. Welcome back. I'm Ronaldo McKenzie. And President Zelenskyy this morning will deliver a live address virtually to the US Congress. And we are getting ready to listen to the address to the US Congress from President Zelenskyy. What we know so far this morning is that the Russian invasion continues. The Ukrainians are defiant. They are holding down Kyiv. They are inching closer to the capital. But we know that their ground assault, or their ground game, or their advances on the ground has stalled. They have stalled their ground assault or ground in game, but now they have taken to the air. Because of the offensive and the pushback from the Ukrainians are very defiant and they also have international help or reinforcement. So that's going well on that front. But the Russians have taken to the air. And they're using the air. And so President Zelenskyy is calling on the world to implement a no-fly zone. The next thing that we are aware of is that the Russian soldiers, they are demoralized, and we will be sharing in not too long from now what the Russians are saying about the war. But they seem to be fed up. But Putin is ordering them to go and take Kyiv. In fact, he gave them an ultimatum. They are supposed to take Kyiv in 2 days. So his frustrations are mounting, Putin. And he has even sought help from China. China is saying that, is denying this, but U.S. intelligence is saying that China or Putin has sought help from Russia, from China. But we will continue with that. But we want to listen to a live broadcast today from President Zelenskyy. We are moments away from hearing President Zelenskyy. But while we wait for that report to come in, yesterday I shared a YouTube video that I got from a correspondent from Babel, Ukraine, Babel, Ukraine, and in the video, and I actually posted the video on YouTube. But in the video, the Russian soldiers are saying, and in the video we share what the Russian soldiers are saying and feeling about Putin's war. And this is what they are saying: we are like bums, effed, and I use the word effed everywhere instead of the expletive that they use. Effed everywhere in the SH, and you can complete that. Only I'd rather die from COVID. They are saying that we are like bums. They feel like they are effed everywhere. And they said in this war, in this SH, whatever, you expletive. I wish I'd rather die from COVID. So we have the video was put together in a very interesting way with what they did was to put a collage or a montage. It came to put all what they have gathered, intel that they have gathered from what the Russian soldiers are saying on the ground, and they have put that together in a nice video for you. But it's in Ukrainian and Russian, but we have translated it for you in an article, and I've also added some comments. So the article will be discussed. The article is discussed in the neoliberal ronaldocmckenzie.blogspot.com. But I want to preface this by saying, before I share this video with you, or share what the Russians are saying, while we wait for President Zelenskyy to speak, I must say that Hitler used the lumpen proletariats to carry out his wars. They are the people society create to do their dirty work. People who live in abject poverty, who are usually at the bottom of society. They are promised much but given little. And I will pause here. President Zelenskyy has appeared on the screen and is about to speak to the US Congress and the US people.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, Madam Ambassador, who is with us this morning. Madam Ambassador.
Nancy Pelosi, House Speaker.
Ambassador Makarova.
That's the voice of Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House.
Mr. President, it is my honor to present to you the Congress of the United States, which has great respect and admiration and appreciation for your courageous leadership. Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you the President of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelenskyy. Slava Ukraina! Slava Ukraina!
Glory to heroes.
My colleagues, Slava Ukraina! Slava Ukraina!
Glory to heroes. Thank you very much. Madam Speaker, members of the Congress, ladies and gentlemen, Americans, friends, I'm proud to greet you from Ukraine, from our capital city of Kyiv, a city that is under missile and airstrikes from Russian troops every day. But it doesn't give up. And we have not even thought about it for a second. Just like many other cities and communities in our beautiful country, which found themselves in the worst war since World War II. I have the honor to greet you on behalf of the Ukrainian people, brave and freedom-loving people who for 8 years have been resisting the Russian aggression. Those who give their best sons and daughters to stop this full-scale Russian invasion. Right now, the destiny of our country is being decided. The destiny of our people, whether Ukrainians will be free, whether they will be able to preserve their democracy. Russia has attacked not just us, not just our land, not just our cities. It went on a brutal offensive against our values, basic human values. It threw tanks and planes against our freedom, against our right to live freely in our own country, choosing our own future, against our desire for happiness, against our national dreams, just like the same dreams you have, you Americans, just like anyone else in the United States. I remember your national memorial in Rushmore, the faces of your prominent presidents, those who laid the foundation of the United States of America as it is today, democracy, independence, freedom, and care for everyone, for every person, for everyone who works diligently, who lives honestly, who respects the law. We in Ukraine want the same for our people. All that is normal part of your own life. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, Americans, in your great history, you have pages that would allow you to understand Ukrainians, understand us now, when you need it right now, when we need you right now. Remember Pearl Harbor, terrible morning of December 7, 1941, when your sky was black from the planes attacking you. Just remember it. Remember September the 11th, a terrible day in 2001 when evil tried to turn your cities, independent territories, in battlefields, when innocent people were attacked from air. Yes. Just like no one else expected it. You could not stop it. Our country experiences the same every day, right now, at this moment, every night, for 3 weeks now. Various Ukrainian cities, Odessa and Kharkiv, Chernihiv and Sumy, Zhytomyr and Lviv, Mariupol and Dnipro. Russia has turned the Ukrainian sky into a source of death. for thousands of people. Russian troops have already fired nearly 1,000 missiles at Ukraine, countless bombs. They use drones to kill us with precision. This is a terror that Europe has not seen for 80 years, and we are asking for a reply, for an answer to this terror from the whole world. Is this a lot to ask for, to create a no-fly zone over Ukraine to save people? Is this too much to ask? Humanitarian no-fly zone, something that that Russia would not be able to terrorize our free cities. If this is too much to ask, we offer an alternative. You know what kind of defense systems we need, S-300 and other similar systems. You know how much depends on the battlefield, on the ability to use aircraft, powerful, strong aviation to protect our people, our freedom, our land, aircraft that can help Ukraine, help Europe. And you know that they exist and you have them, but they are on Earth, not in the Ukrainian sky. They do not defend our people. I have a dream. These words are known to each of you. Today I can say, I have a need. I need to protect our sky. I need your decision, your help, which means exactly the same you feel when you hear the words, I have a dream. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, Ukraine is grateful to the United States for its overwhelming support, for everything that your government and your people have done for us, for weapons and ammunition, for training, for finances, for leadership in the free world, which helps us to pressure the aggressor economically. I'm grateful to President Biden for his personal involvement, for his sincere commitment to the defense of Ukraine and democracy all over the world. I am grateful to you for the resolution which recognizes all those who commit crimes against Ukraine, against the Ukrainian people as war criminals. However, now, it is true, in the darkest time for our country, for the whole Europe, I call on you to do more. New packages of sanctions are needed constantly, every week, until the Russian military machine stops. Restrictions are needed for everyone on whom this unjust regime is based. We've proposed that the United States sanctions all politicians in the Russian Federation who remain in their offices and do not cut ties with those who are responsible for the aggression against Ukraine, from State Duma's members to the last official who has lack of morale to break the state terror. All American companies must leave Russia from their market, leave their market immediately, because it is flooded with our blood. Ladies and gentlemen, members of Congress, please take the lead. If you have companies in your districts who finance the Russian military machine leaving business in Russia, you should put pressure. I'm asking to make sure that the Russians do not receive a single penny that they use to destroy people in Ukraine. The destruction of our country, the destruction of Europe. All American ports should be closed for Russian goods. Peace is more important than income, and we have to defend this principle in the whole world. We already became part of the anti-war coalition, a big anti-war coalition that unites many countries, dozens of countries, those who reacted in principle to President Putin's decision to invade our country. But we need to move on and do more. We need to create new tools to respond quickly and stop the war, the full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine, which began on February 24th. And it would be fair if it ended in a day, in 24 hours, that evil would be punished immediately. Today, the world does not have such tools. The war of the past have prompted our predecessors to create institutions that should protect us from war. But they unfortunately don't work. We see it, you see it, so we need new ones, new institutions, new alliances, and we offer them. We propose to create an association, U24, United for Peace, a union of responsible countries that have the strength and consciousness to stop conflicts immediately, provide all the necessary assistance in 24 hours, if necessary, even weapons, if necessary, sanctions, humanitarian support, political support, finances, everything you need to keep the peace and quickly save the world, to save lives. In addition, such association, such union could provide assistance to those who are experiencing natural disasters, man-made disasters, who fell victims to humanitarian crisis or epidemic. Remember how difficult it was for the world to do the simplest thing, just to give vaccines against COVID to save lives, to prevent new strains. The world spent months, years doing things like that, much faster, to make sure there are no human losses, no victims. Ladies and gentlemen, Americans, if such alliance would exist today, that is U24, we would be able to save thousands of lives in our country. In many countries of the world, those who need peace, those who suffer inhumane destruction. I ask you to watch one video of what the Russian troops did in our country, in our land. We have to stop it. We must prevent it, preventively destroy every single aggressor who seeks to subjugate other nations. Please watch the video.
President Zelenskyy is showing a video here via a web stream. It shows graphic video during address to Congress here, showing a peaceful Ukrainian city and peaceful Ukrainians smiling and laughing, playing in children. Family of children hugging, and right after that it shows the war, it shows the crisis, the bombings, the disaster. While we watch the video, as we watch the video, President Zelenskyy so far is pleading to the US Congress and the US. He's telling them, please, or he's asking them, please, close the skies or secure the airspace and leave Russia entirely to save Ukraine and stop this war. Close the sky over Ukraine. And the video actually ends with that in a black background.
And in the end, to sum it up, Today it's not enough to be the leader of the nation. Today it takes to be the leader of the world. Being the leader of the world means to be the leader of peace. Peace in your country doesn't depend anymore only on you and your people. It depends on those next to you, on those who are strong. Strong doesn't mean weak. Strong is brave and ready to fight for the life of his citizens and citizens of the world, for human rights, for freedom, for the right to live decently and to die when your time comes, and not when it's wanted by someone else, by your neighbor. Today, the Ukrainian people are defending not only Ukraine, we are fighting for the values of Europe and the world, sacrificing our lives in the name of the future. That's why today the American people are helping not just Ukraine, but Europe and the world to keep the planet alive, to keep justice in history. Now I'm almost 45 years old. Today my age stopped when the hearts of more than 100 children stopped beating. I see no sense in life if it cannot stop the death. And this is my main mission as the leader of my people, great Ukrainians. And as the leader of my nation, I'm addressing the President Biden. You are the leader of the nation, of your great nation. I wish you to be the leader of the world. Being the leader of the world means to be the leader of peace. Thank you. Slava Ukraini.
That was President Zelenskyy today speaking to the U.S. Congress. Speaking to the U.S. Congress. And he ends by saying, the U.S. is the leader of the world. Is the leader of the world. That's what Zelenskyy is saying. He ends. He says, to be the leader of the world means to be the leader of peace. And he says, and he says that peace in your country, in your own country, no longer depends on you, and no longer depends only on you and what's going on in your own country. But the peace in one country, in your country, depends on ensuring peace in other countries and in other parts of the world. So, as a leader, the US of the world, he encourages them to ensure that the US take the step to ensure peace in the US, so as to ensure peace in other parts of the world, such as Ukraine. And in order for Ukraine to have peace, he's saying that the US would need to lead on closing the skies over Ukraine, or would need to lead on securing the airspace, and would need to lead by leaving Russia entirely, because up to now there are people, leaders, government officials, politicians, and even businesses still have connections and links with Russia. So he says, in order for you to be the leader of the world, it means you have to be the leader of peace. And for you to ensure peace in your own country, it no longer depends on any efforts that you are doing within your own country. It also requires ensuring that you're leading leading to ensure peace in other parts of the world, such as Ukraine. And in order for Ukraine to have peace today, their airspace need to be closed, or he provides an alternative, or provide the necessary planes and military equipment that would ensure the Ukrainian airspace is secured. That is the message from Zelenskyy today. Now, President Biden will speak to the world not long from now, and we will carry that, or we want to hear what the response is from the U.S. to Ukrainians and to President Zelenskyy. We know that earlier today, the Senate leader McConnell, earlier today or yesterday, he had indicated that we are not closing the Ukrainian sky. However, he is open. The Republicans are open. He and the leader of the minority leader of the Senate. My apologies. The minority leader of the Senate, Mitch McConnell, is open to the possibility, or not even open. This is what he said earlier, that there are other things that we can do to help the Ukrainians defeat Russia as it relates to the skies, by providing the equipment and the military equipment that is necessary. That is okay. And if that is the case, it seems we are at that point, because because we know that the Republicans and some members of the members of the U.S. Congress and people in the Senate and so on, they are open to the possibility of providing the equipment. But I guess more discussions is needed, and we will know and we will hear what the response will be. But President Zelenskyy has come to a point where I'm willing to negotiate. I'm willing to explore other alternatives. And the U.S. government and politicians and leadership seem to be open to that. But we will await. But we know earlier that Poland was going to send planes to Ukraine, but they were going to send it to the U.S. and then the U.S. was supposed to send it to Ukraine. So Poland was supposed to send the planes to Ukraine, but it was supposed to go to Ukraine via the U.S. I'm not sure why it has to go all the way around the world in order for it to come to Ukraine, but I guess because of the complications of life. And that's what has happened. We have made life so complex and complicated that we have to jump through hoops in order to achieve certain goals, to ensure that people's lives are improved. It is so difficult in order to get things done. But we know at that point, and according to President Zelenskyy, he believes that the war can end in a day if we either close the sky or they are provided with the equipment that they need to prevent the air assault from happening, because their ground game have been stalled. Thank you so much for listening to the Neoliberal Round podcast, and we will continue to follow this story. And by the way, we know that President Biden will be going to a meeting, to have a meeting with the other members of NATO, so to discuss this what's happening in Ukraine and Russia's invasion. So we will continue to follow that, and we hope that you will continue to listen to our program and support us. And just so you know, before we close, my book, Neoliberalism, Globalization, Income Inequality, Poverty and Resistance, is still available in all platforms. And we will be having a book signing in Germantown, Philadelphia, at Germantown Espresso Bar. It's a cafe. And it will be on April 2 from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. I will be there. And we will also carry a podcast. We will record a podcast of the event. We might also be on the Germantown radio station talking about the book and talking about many other issues. But look out, continue to follow me on my social media to see what's going on with the neoliberal and with me and so on and so forth. And continue also to do what you can. Continue to do what you can to ensure that we stop the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Thank you so much and have a good day. Welcome back to the Neoliberal Round podcast. As we said earlier in the in this episode before President Zelenskyy started his message to the U.S. Congress, we were sharing with you what Russians were saying about their country's invasion of Ukraine. And we have a video that was put together based on intel from the national army, the Ukrainian National Army, and they were able to get information from on the ground the mood and the feelings of the Russian army. Some time ago, I think 2 or 3 previous episodes, we discussed what Russians are saying in Russia, and of course, we said that some are for, some are against, and we know that there is some kind of dis or misinformation by the Kremlin. So many Russians don't get independent news sources. Their source is really the state-run media, and they put out what Putin wants them to put out. And actually there was an episode recently, not an episode of this show, a protest by one of the correspondents or one of the workers at a state-run media outlet. While there was a national broadcast talking about the war, someone ran in front of the camera behind the news presenter and put up a placard saying "No to war, stop this war," and that was quite interesting. But the younger people are concerned about their inability to now wear H&M and wear name brands, and many of them would not comment because of fears that they have of the backlash. But 12,000 Russians or thousands of Russians are in St. Petersburg and all over Russia protesting the war, but many of them are against it, especially younger people. But what are the Russians? What is the Russian soldiers saying? What are the Russian soldiers saying about this war? And I have a video for you.
Я русский военный, младшего звена, и для русских побед меня мать родила. Мне говорил наш министр Шойгу, что на края...
In the video that I'm actually playing, you can go on my YouTube channel, Ronaldo Mackenzie, and get a copy of this. We share what the soldiers are saying. And I entitled the video, and the title is a summary of some of the main points. We are like bums, effed everywhere in the SH asterisk T. Only I'd rather die from COVID. Now, the video is in Ukrainian and Russian. So what we did was to translate the language for you. And it is available on YouTube if you click on the details. And the translation is also available on ronaldocmackenzie.blogspot.com. But I preface, and I will preface, before I begin to share with you what the soldiers are saying, I would want to preface this presentation by saying Hitler used the lumpen proletariats to carry out his wars, because that is how the Russian soldiers are feeling, and that's what they are saying. They feel as if they are bums, like ordinary humans, and I will share that with you later on. And many of these young men are, of course, very young, 17, 18, 19, come from abject poverty. And Hitler used the what we call lumpen proletariats to carry out his wars. They are the people society create to do their dirty work. People who live in abject poverty and who are usually at the bottom of society. They are promised much but given little. And are told or fed mis and disinformation so as to get the poor wretches who are not provided with adequate education for critical and analytical thinking to sacrifice for an ideology that also keeps you at the bottom of society. I'm going to read it again. They are promised much but given little, the lumpen proletariats, the people who society create and then use to do their dirty work. They are promised much but given little, and are told or fed mid or mis and disinformation so as to get the poor wretches who are not provided with adequate education for critical and analytical thinking to sacrifice for an ideology that also keeps them at the bottom of society. Putin has done that here, but with less success, because the world stands united with Ukraine, and unlike World War I and II, we have social media today, which helps to dispel the propaganda, and people are more connected and mixed up today, so that Russians have Ukrainian and Russian parents or families. But it is clear and quite evident in this video, and what we're hearing from Russian soldiers who have been captured, or from information we're getting from radio that have been unscrambled. It is clear that the poor young Russian soldiers are finally waking up from sleep and are now demoralized more now than ever. Now that they know the truth, are becoming more aware of the truth, and are also incapable of advancing for either that they lack the will or impetus, given the realization of what they are doing and the tumultuous worldwide and Ukrainian objections and fight. The soldiers are now secretly speaking with each other, saying that they want to go home and that they feel left in the mess. They are concerned about what people are saying about them and what the war is doing to them and their fellow men. Some seem to be ready to give up even after Putin's orders, telling them to go, ordering them to go. Putin is frustrated. And you can see that in the messages that we're getting about how he is ordering them to go and take Kyiv in 2 days. Putin is frustrated, and he himself is becoming demoralized and is now ordering them to continue the invasion on the ground using foul language and expletives. He is even seeking help from China. Russia has lost, but is holding out on the hope, or to the hope, that Ukraine surrenders. But they will not, and they have not. Zelenskyy stated that they won't give up an inch of Ukraine, and is asking the world to close the Ukrainian airspace, knowing that the ground forces have stalled and that Putin is now taking his attacks via the skies, which must be protected and closed off. I believe it is the day before V-Day for the Ukrainians. They hold key defensive positions and have stalled the Russia's ground game. Foreign fighters numbering over 66,000 have joined the fight for Ukraine. And our task and the task to take Kyiv seems daunting and insurmountable. Russia's economy is slowly plummeting and will take a dive if the war drags on and the sanctions continue to grow and the effects of them closing in. The Ukrainians were able to unscramble conversations between Russian soldiers and gathered reliable intel and information from those they have captured, which suggests that the army is collapsing. The Russian army is collapsing. And that is why Putin is trying to enlist reserves from elsewhere, going and seeking help from China and the Syrians. So here's what the Russian soldiers on the ground in Ukraine are saying, which is translated in English. Some words are expletives, or you may find disrespectful. So I will try my best to bleep them out. Okay, but bear with me as I begin to share with you what the Russian army men are saying. Here we go. I will play the video in the background, and I will speak in English what they are saying in Russian. I am a Russian junior military man. Our minister, Shoigu, told me my mother gave birth to me for Russia's victory. That I can put NATO to cancer. He said the task, which is the invasion of Ukraine, was BS, and that we, Russia, will take Kyiv easily in 2 days. Let's get everyone on their knees there in Kyiv. But we were effed here in the SH asterisk T. We lay everywhere without arms, without legs, and fertilize the fields in the spring. We are like ordinary hummus, or hummus, whichever way you pronounce it, just lying around. Here we smell. I am ordered to take Kyiv, one man said, at last. But F us here, like Kadyrov sheep. And yesterday, I generally effed up, for example. Gypsies stole our armored personal carrier. Young and old burn us with cocktails and some Bandera Baraktar. We do not know at all how to find the way to Kyiv. Putin write us, ordering us, F to go. And it seems like we're all heroes. But SH asterisk T flows right as at your feet. One other guy says, we are effed everywhere in the SH asterisk T. In Sumy, in Chernihiv, we are in SH asterisk T. It seems that we went to Kherson, but people are shouting that we are SH asterisk T. And in Melitopol, and in Mariupol. And I am a Russian military senior. Here's a Russian military senior. I have 200,000 such SH asterisk T. I have 200,000 such. It's none of my business to keep track of them. Dullbubs are still being born. Only I'd die from COVID. In order not to hear that command, it would be better for me to go. Javelins and air defense are everywhere. They turn my troops into SH asterisk T. We were all effed up in the SH asterisk T in Kharkov. In Boka, straight to the SH asterisk T. We were a great army, but the world now knows that we are SH asterisk T. They know in Moldova. They also know in Georgia. And soon, everyone is going crazy. We will be effed together. Those are the words coming out of Russia, out of Ukraine, and out of Russia. What the Russian soldiers are saying in secret and based on intelligence and those who have been captured, they are demoralized. They do not want to go to war. They would rather that they have COVID. And so, even the Russian men, the Russian army, are at a point where they do not want to go anywhere. They don't want to fight this war. And can I tell you, and that is why Putin now is seeking help from elsewhere. So that is why we have to end this war now before it gets too late, because now Russia wants to now turn their attention to the sky, and they cannot find experienced, willing, capable, and motivated men who were fed a lie. They were told that they were going to do drills for 2 days, because of course they thought that it would have been a quick take. It would have been an easy take, and the next thing you know, they are in a war. So many of them are experiencing shock. Some of them never fought in a war before in their lives. If you look at the video, you see men crying. Big men, army men, soldiers crying. Of course, the video is graphic. And I invite you to look at the video on YouTube. It's called "What Are Russian Soldiers Saying About Putin War?" We are like bombs. F***K everywhere in the SH*T. And it was published on March 15, 2022 on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for listening to the Neoliberal Round podcast. And later on, we will continue with this episode. But later on, we want to listen to President Biden's message in response to what President Zelenskyy had said earlier. Continue to stay tuned to the Neoliberal Round, and we'll be right back after these messages, or sometime around 11:45, 12 o'clock, to join President Biden as he speaks to the world. But this podcast is now available. But just so you know, we will add another segment not long from now where President Biden speaks to the world, replying to President Zelenskyy's request. And again, President Zelenskyy is saying this. This is what President Zelenskyy is saying. Close the skies or secure the airspace and leave Russia entirely to save Ukraine and stop this war. The US is the leader of the world. To be the leader of the world means to be the leader of peace. Peace in your own country no longer depends on ensuring peace in your country, but also working for peace in other countries such as Ukraine. And in order for there to be peace in Ukraine, and by extension the world, the US should do what it takes to close or secure the Ukrainian sky. President Biden responds later at 11:45 a.m. US Eastern Time. And guess what? We will join him live and will carry his broadcast right here on the Neoliberal Round podcast, and we'll delve into his message. Thank you so much, and continue to support us here at the Neoliberal Round podcast, brought to you by Anchor FM by Spotify, and I'm also available on other podcasts. So tune into other podcasts where you can get a copy of the show. And just so you know, please subscribe to the show and follow us and share the show with your friends and provide feedback so that we can know what we can do to improve. Thank you so much and have a great day. Until about an hour from now, we will join you again. Take care.
transfer. Now, I want to be honest with you. This could be a long and difficult battle, but the American people will be steadfast in our support of the people of Ukraine in the face of Putin's immoral, unethical attacks on civilian populations. We are united in our abhorrence of Putin's depraved onslaught, and we're going to continue to have their backs as they fight for their freedom, their democracy, their very survival. We're going to give Ukraine the arms to fight and defend themselves through all the difficult days ahead. We're going to continue to mobilize humanitarian relief to support people within Ukraine and those who have been forced to flee Ukraine. In just the past few weeks, we provided $300 million of humanitarian assistance to the people in Ukraine and in neighboring countries. Tens of thousands of tons of food, water, medicine, and other basic supplies to support the people in need. Our experts on the ground in Poland and Moldova and other neighboring countries are there to make real-time assessments of the rapidly evolving crisis and get urgently needed humanitarian supplies to the people in need when they need it. And we will support Ukraine's economy with direct financial assistance as well. And together with our allies and partners, we will keep up the pressure on Putin's crumbling economy, isolating him on the global stage. That's our goal. Make Putin pay the price, weaken his position, while strengthening the hand of the Ukrainians on the battlefield and at the negotiating table. Together with our allies and partners, we're going to stay the course, and we'll do everything we can to push for and end this tragic, unnecessary war. This is a struggle that pits the appetites of an autocrat against humankind's desire to be free. And let there be no doubt, no uncertainty, no question. America stands with the forces of freedom. We always have, we always will. I want to thank you all, and God bless you, and I'm going to walk over and sign this legislation, sign this bill to allow the drawdown of those materials.
We are just hearing from President Biden at the White House as he announced an additional military support for Ukraine. Now, this comes hours after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy pleaded with Congress to do more to help Ukraine defend itself against the military onslaught from Russia. President Biden outlined in more detail the types of security assistance the U.S. is providing. That includes 9,000 anti-armor systems, 7,000 machine guns, and other weapons, including 20 million rounds of ammo and 800 anti-aircraft weapons. The added assistance brings the total authorized by President Biden to just $1 billion this week. President Biden says this will likely be a long and difficult battle, one in which Ukraine cannot lose with the help of the U.S. and Western allies.
That was just President Biden speaking to a joint session of the U.S. House of Congress, and Kay providing that summary for us. Thank you so much, Kay. And what we know now is that President Biden has responded to President Zelensky's speech, asking the Americans to either close the airspace or to provide more needed assistance in terms of the military equipment to be able to defend their airspace. And President Biden has responded. And not only that, President Zelenskyy had also asked that we cut all ties with Russia. And this is what the American President Biden has said. They will provide 9,000 anti-armored systems, 20 million rounds of ammunition, 800 anti-aircraft weapons that would be utilized to shoot down any aircraft or bombs or any kind of arsenal in the air or any kind of attack, but it was just 800. And then, of course, they have mobilized humanitarian relief, and they are applying more sanctions to Putin and Russia so that they can isolate and weaken him and Russia. They have also provided, there are also experts on the ground, military, intelligence, and so on and so forth. And they are providing Ukraine with the financial assistance to recover. So that's where we are. And we will find out whether or not this response is adequate. Thank you so much for watching the Neoliberal Round podcast. We will continue with more episodes after this, exploring whether or not this response is adequate and looking at where the Ukrainians are. What we know now, however, we know just some more news coming in, and I want to add that, is that Russia currently provides the world with 28% of the wheat and corn. So 28% of the world's wheat and corn comes from Russia, and of course that affects poultry. That may affect the price of poultry, and it may affect the price of other goods and products that we use. And that is why we here at the Neoliberal and President Zelenskyy and the Ukrainians and those who are standing with Ukraine are lobbying and advocating that we cut all ties with Russia, all ties, so that we can isolate and weaken Putin and Russia, and the Ukrainians can win this war. Thank you so much for watching the Neoliberal Round. Continue to listen to our show, share it with others, and check out some of our articles and blogs on our social media feeds and blog sites and news feeds. RonaldoCMcKenzie.blogspot.com, Ronaldo.McKenzie on Facebook, or theneoliberal.com, https://theneoliberal.com. And just so you know, we will be having a book signing on April 2. On April 2, we will be having a book signing on April 2 at the Germantown Espresso Bar. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you have a great day. Take care.